Amanda from Pontes Books here with the Chapter 18 vocabulary word for the Prince and the Pauper. Today's vocabulary word is another one of those that is kind of more archaic language, more old-fashioned, that you wouldn't see in modern day text, but is nonetheless an important one to go through because when you're reading classic text, it's one that comes up fairly often, especially in dialogue. We see this come up a lot. So our word for today is prithee. And as you can see from the picture for this one, I chose, a cat who's kind of got a begging look in its eyes because it is basically an exclamation that you use when you're trying to ask for something. So taking a look just at the definition, it's a little tricky for this one because it doesn't have an exact definition and really even an exact part of speech. So it's an exclamation that you would say, and essentially just means please. So some examples that we could see here, or kind of synonyms in some cases, could be please or I beg you. It's not always as strong as I beg you, but that's kind of the implication that goes along with it. And it is usually used to express a wish or request. So you would say that before or after making some sort of request. And as a result, then there's not really any non-examples. It would just be, an impolite way of asking something would be the opposite of saying prithee, because it's more polite to say it. In terms of the etymology, you can trace the word back further, but this actual word comes from English, and it is just an altered or weakened form of the phrase, I pray thee. So if you kind of say the word fast, you can see like prithee, pray thee, you see that comes from, similar sounds. And that is because that used to be what the phrase was, and then over time it was altered / kind of weakened to this prithee form, and the I was dropped entirely. So then obviously you can trace those individual words back farther etymologically, but the phrase prithee, or the word for prithee, comes from that phrase, I pray thee. And then lastly, just looking at some example sentences. So a straightforward sentence. It's kind of hard to do a straightforward sentence because this is an archaic term. So to put it in a modern day sentence is not really accurate because you wouldn't really ever see that. But just as an example, prithee, take out the garbage before you go to work tomorrow. So like, I beg you, please take out the garbage before you go to work tomorrow. And then our actual sentence that we see this word in the chapter is a quote from Hugo. And so he's talking to Edward. And he says, "Thou'lt not beg?" exclaimed Hugo, eyeing the king with surprise. "Prithee, since when hast thou reformed?" So he's basically having a conversation with Edward because he believes he's Tom, and Edward is refusing to beg. And Hugo is saying, like, what? You refuse to beg? Like, please tell me, like, when did this change? Because I know that you were raised your whole life as a beggar and a thief. So that's where prithee kind of goes. So again, it's not as strong as like, oh, I beg you, please, please, please do this for me. It's more of like a please as part of the sentence. So that's the word prithee. Hopefully you learned something. Have a good rest of your day.